Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. Well, folks, Iran has come out and given all of you a message. Yes, Americans, a message with a warning saying that their finger is on the trigger. Now I was thinking, what type of response should I give? Like, what can I possibly say to really exude how I feel about this? And there's a phenomenal clip that's going to sum this up with Tom Cruise from Tropic Thunder representing the United States. And then you'll see there's another group that's on the phone with him that's going to represent Iran. And I think it does justice on how this one plays out. Let's roll it.
This is the last Grossman. Who is this?
This is Flaming Dragon!
Oh, okay. Flaming Dragon. Fuckface. First, take a big step back and literally fuck your own face! Now, I don't know what kind of pan-Pacific bullshit power play you're trying to pull here, but Asia, Jack, is my territory. So whatever you're thinking, you better think again. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to head down there, and I will rain down on a godly fucking firestorm upon you. You're gonna have to call the fucking United Nations and get a fucking binding resolution to keep me from fucking destroying you. I am talking scorched earth, motherfucker! I will massacre you! I will fuck you up!
Well, it doesn't get any more clear than that. And again, good morning and welcome to the Bald Brad Show. We got a lot of stuff to cover today, folks. We got a lot of updates on what's going on in the Middle East. We also have an awesome video clip of Piers Morgan debating a pro-Palestinian YouTuber. I saw a couple minutes of it, and I was like, this one's head spinning. We got to play the whole thing for the viewers of the Bald Brad Show. Hit that like and subscribe button. Leave us a short, sweet comment down below. Share this link with your friends and family all over social media. And our lead headline here is, some of the weapons seized from Hamas terrorists by Israel Defense Forces, IDF, in southern Israel reportedly showed strong evidence that the Palestinian terrorist group has direct backing from Iran. Yes, we already do this. But here's the kicker. Joe Biden still wants to give them $6 billion in humanitarian aid. And I put that in air quotes because, yes, it is used for humanitarian aid. But John Kirby just came out last week and was like, we'll track it all. Don't worry. We have our vendors. Folks, we've lost track of $1 trillion before. We can't even track a spy balloon going over our own mainland. You expect us to really believe the shenanigans? All the while you told us it was frozen, but then the other day you told us it wasn't frozen, but yet it might be frozen, where if they just ask for it, they can receive the money. And then you actually moved it from South Korea to another place because it was too hard to get in South Korea. The messaging is so insane from this White House that we literally have direct evidence of Iran giving weapons to freaking Hamas that ran roughshod over Israel's civilians. And now you still want to give them $6 billion. You can't make it up. You can't make it up. Oh, wait till we get into the story about Democrats calling for a ceasefire. Oh, it's so insane. Well, the IDF released photos and videos of weapons it seized from a raid near the Israel-Gaza border after terrorists launched an unprecedented attack on October 7th that killed more than 1,300 Israelis. The Long War Journal, which is comprised of experts on wars in the Middle East, reported that, quote, deadly armor-piercing explosively formed projectiles, or EFPs, were recovered from Hamas. The report said the weapons were a clear indication of Iranian support for Hamas. Look, we already knew there was support coming from them. But it's always nice to have actual tangible evidence to support your thinking. And what's amazing about this is you have a bunch of outlets covering this. We got video of it. We got like multiple outlets. And what you're going to see from that last video that we're going to show today, our last segment today with Piers Morgan versus pro-Palestinian YouTuber, is that he needs to see primary evidence. He needs to see the terrorist himself look in the camera and say, it's ours. We got it from the Iranians. Yes, we did. Here's the receipt right here. Line item. Bought it from receipt. The Ayatollah Khomeini. Here it is. It's so insane. It's so insane. But even what's more insane than that is Joe Biden still wanting to give them $6 billion. This is unbelievable. Well, the nice thing about this is, well, I guess, quote unquote, the nice thing, I guess it depends on your opinion, is the United States military selects 2,000 troops for potential deployment to support Israel. Folks, this is turning into some serious ish. Before it's kind of like, hey, we're not going to put boots on the ground. We'll give you weapons. We'll kind of ship those in. We'll take care of you. We'll give you some humanitarian aid as well. You're starting to see the crumblings of the Middle East. You're starting to potentially see the beginnings of a World War III. This is terrifying, you guys. I don't know how to say it in a way that doesn't scare the crap out of you, but this should. Because now you got the Syrians potentially involved. You got the Iranians potentially involved. There is talk that some of Hamas weapons flew basically from China to Iran, from Russia to Iran, and funneled it into Hamas, or gave them to Hamas. So you have basically us spread thin here, where there is a potential and rumors out there that Russia might actually go into Poland. You got China possibly wanting to go in Taiwan. We're already moving fleets to the Mediterranean Sea right there to support Israel, who might be invaded by different enemies on their border. This has the makings of some serious bad bleep here, and it should scare you when we start talking about troops and moving carrier groups to support them and all this other stuff. There's something big brewing here, you guys, and I pray to God we don't go to World War III. According to the Wall Street Journal, United States officials said those selected aren't intended to serve in combat, and no ground troops that engage in close-range battle have been put on a prepare-to-deploy order. Not yet. They would help Israel as advisors and with medical support missions in a ground operation in Gaza. I have a feeling, I don't believe our government when we say that. I have a feeling they're going to put in some special force operatives on the ground to get our hostages out of there, as well as other people that are dual citizenship or just American citizens. Defense officials said the selected troops are stationed inside the Middle East and outside the region, including Europe. An estimated 1,400 Israelis have been killed since Hamas launched a brutal terrorist attack on Israel October 7th. Well, it's not just 2,000 troops. The United States is also sending a second aircraft carrier strike group to the eastern Mediterranean to deter hostile actions against Israel or any efforts towards widening this war following Hamas's attack. And again, Iran has already come out and said, hey, fingers on the trigger. We're giving you a warning. And like I said, you got a lot of people in the military, a lot of veterans, just military personnel in general, that want to whoop your ass, Iran. Like, they want to really whoop your ass. Because we clearly didn't finish the job. We wiped out half your Navy in 8 days. We could have done it in 4. And boy, oh boy, they remind me of that kid that just hasn't got his ass kicked enough. That just always asking for one, you know what I mean? Always asking for an ass kicking. And what I mean by that is them targeting our allies' vessels in the seas, our cargo ships, going on them, harassing them, shooting stuff at them, and us just throwing a few rounds over the bow. Like I said, you should be blowing them out of the water at this point. So Iran clearly hasn't learned their lesson. They got their ass whooped before. And to give you a perspective, Iran's military was nowhere near the size of the military of Iraq in the 90s with the Gulf War. And we wiped out Iraq, the third largest military, in like a week. That's not an exaggeration. We could have done it faster. We're being nice. We're playing with our food. Oh, they're calling for it. Oh, they're asking for it. Oh, they're asking for it. God, they haven't learned yet. The USS Eisenhower and its affiliated warships will join another carrier group, USS Ford, already deployed to the region in a wake of the brutal Hamas onslaught a week ago and Israel's ongoing response in Gaza. Now, Israel would have already gone into Gaza, but they want to have basically rule over the air. And if you have rule over the air, you virtually have rule over the comms, the communications, everything at that point. And that was one of the successes we had during the Gulf War, was we wiped out the communication of the Iraqis, basically gained control of the air and just run roughshod over them, like I said, in like a matter of a week or two. Furthermore, because of the clouds and just the weather conditions, they didn't go into Gaza at that point in time. But having that backing of 2 freaking badass carrier groups off your coast right there, whoever's going to mess around is going to find out real quick. Look, we say we're not going to put any boots on the ground, but I don't know, man. With what's going on, it's some sketchy stuff. Well, speaking of sketchy stuff, amid Israel-Hamas war, some Democrats are pressing Biden to call for a ceasefire. It's unbelievable, man. Now, understand that a majority of Americans actually agree with what Israel's doing in terms of defending themselves, but you still have these crazy lefties that are part of the Democrat Party that somehow get voted into office by Americans voting for them that say just insane things that don't have moral clarity, and you're seeing it right here. So amid the Israel-Hamas war, a group of House Democrats is pushing a resolution to call for the Biden administration to press for a ceasefire. No, Look, if somebody did that to your children, raped your wife, raped your teenage daughter, killed your son right in front of you with a gardening hoe, light your baby on fire, would you be like, let's do a ceasefire? No, that's a great option. Yeah, let's do a ceasefire. Oh, they killed over 1,400 Americans? Oh, no, that's fine. Like, what? Are you idiots? No. Sorry, Israel's going to sit there and run roughshod over Hamas, and rightfully so. The resolution declares that the House of Representatives urges the Biden administration to immediately call for and facilitate de-escalation and a ceasefire to urgently end the current violence. Shows you where the Democrats are. Shows you right where they are. You don't see Republicans really calling for this. I'm sure there's few and far between some of them, but it's mainly Democrats. The resolution also calls upon the Biden administration to promptly send and facilitate the entry of humanitarian assistance into Gaza. Israel is waging war against Hamas in response to brutal attacks perpetrated by terrorists who kidnapped some of and slaughtered some others in the Jewish state. The Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, wow, sound like Joe Biden, Netanyahu has said that the country will obliterate Hamas. I love that messaging. It sounds like Trump, right? We're going to end up, we're going to sit there, the rains of fire, hell force firecrackers going to freaking blow them up. I love that. Netanyahu is just saying, we're going to obliterate Hamas. They're going to cease to exist. All of them. Poof, gone, obliterated. I love it. The war machine of United States military is going to rain hellfire missiles upon them. You got to love it. So, check this out. Quote, I am grieving for every Palestinian, Israeli, and American life lost to this violence, and my heart breaks for all of those who will forever be traumatized because of it. Sounds good so far. Do agree with that. War and retaliatory violence doesn't achieve accountability or justice. It only leads to more death and human suffering. This is from Cori Bush, a Democrat. Complete idiot. Oh, there's a lot of justice that's being served right now, or is going to be served. That's for damn sure. But it's amazing how basically retaliating and that violence that's associated with it doesn't achieve anything. Sure it does. Oh, sure it does. Because once Hamas is gone and you learn the lesson, you whoop that ass. All of a sudden, you ain't going to have to worry so much anymore. Your borders are going to be safe. You don't have people terrorizing and shooting thousands of rockets in your neighborhoods. Oh, it does work, Corey, but this is what you get from the Democrat Party, folks. This is literally what you get. They don't want any punishment on all levels, whether it's the education system, right? Not giving retaliation or punishment of detentions, Saturday schools, all that other stuff. And it goes as far as to violence as well with our inner cities. In California, there's no bail. There's no cash bail. You're just let loose to go murder more people. And that has happened. Where you do like a minor offense, there's no cash bail, you're let loose and you go murder a family. Like I said, has happened. There's no punishment anymore with the Democrat Party. And that's why you have lawlessness happening everywhere. And they don't understand that. You guys forget trying to make sense to them. Stop. We can't keep trying to explain things to them, which is why I've given up on the show to try to reach a certain people. We could probably reach independence, but these far left libs like Cori Bush, there ain't no hope for them, folks. They don't work. All right? Like Joe, don't work. Except Joe has somewhat of an excuse because his literally doesn't work. The resolution, quote, calls for de-escalation and an immediate ceasefire in Israel and occupied Palestine, and for humanitarian assistance to urgently be delivered to the 2.2 million people under siege and trapped in Gaza. Folks, the people that are trapped in Gaza, you have to ask yourself this question. Why are not the border nations opening up their doors to the Palestinians? That's just my question. If the people are so great, if there wasn't like them connected to some sort of terrorist, I'm not labeling all Palestinians this, by the way, but there's a reason why other nations aren't opening their doors and just allowing the free flow of Palestinians in. Because what's attached in there in Gaza? Hamas, a bunch of terrorists, people that use women and children, families, as human shields, shooting a gun while holding a baby and using it as a shield. These are the people that will be cowards, that will flee Gaza because they know Israel's going to turn it to rubble, that's going to go into Egypt and cause havoc and chaos. Everybody knows that. So please don't feel like I'm calling Palestinian people terrorists. That's not what I'm calling them. I'm just saying that when you have a group like Hamas that's associated and connected to what's going on in Gaza with these Palestinians, is that there's going to be some that are going to funnel and go through the cracks and cause chaos, wherever it may be. So I get it. Furthermore, Israel has restored power and water in some areas of Gaza to help funnel the civilians to an area that will be safe, along with throwing leaflets over speakers telling them to get out, we're gonna blow the place up. Like, the only other thing you could do is go literally door to door and tell them to get out. But you also have Hamas blocking some areas as well. There's a lot of misinformation out there, folks. A lot of people lying to you. The United States bears a unique responsibility to exhaust every diplomatic tool at our disposal to prevent mass atrocities and save lives. We can't bomb our way to peace, equality, and freedom. You don't think so? It's worked before. Oh, it's worked before. With thousands of lives lost and millions more at stake, we need a ceasefire now. Now, this is the terrible thing about war. There is going to be civilian casualties. That's war. That's what happens. Look at World War I. Look at World War II. Look at the war in Iraq, which wasn't a declared war. I mean, look at the Gulf War. There's always going to be civilians, sadly, and it's terrible to think about, that are killed. But Israel has every right to exterminate Hamas, not the Palestinians, Hamas. I want the Palestinians and the Israelis to get along. I want them to coexist. I don't think the Palestinian people are evil. I think that they are in a very crappy situation that in some cases could be said that they put themselves in with Hamas and the way that Hamas was elected and all those other things. It's for a different video. But Israel has every right to defend themselves. And it's terrible to say, but like I mentioned, there's going to be civilian casualties, and it's god-awful. It is god-awful that this has happened. Well, here's the press release by Cori Bush. And it indicates here that lawmakers supporting the resolution include Bush, Rashida Tlaib, there's no shock there. You have Carson of Indiana, Lee from Pennsylvania, Ramirez from Illinois, Bowman from New York, Pullman of New Jersey, Garcia of Illinois, Jackson of Illinois, AOC of New York, Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. You're kind of seeing a theme, you guys, with people who have said very anti-Semitic things before. Like, that's not a shock that there's the squad that's a part of the ceasefire and has said terrible things about Israelis and just Jews in general. So that's not a shock, but it's just amazing that they're all Democrats. Like, should we expect anything different? Nope. So that's what's going on there. And I want to end today's episode with a lengthy clip here. I haven't seen the whole thing. Like I said, I only mentioned that I saw a couple minutes of this and it was head spinning, but it gives you a perspective of the debate and conversation that's going on between those that basically support Israel and are pro-Israel and then those that are Palestinians. And this guy is off his rocker, folks. It's Mohammed Hijab. I think that's how you say his last name. I think he's a pro-Palestinian YouTuber. And just listen to this. It's head spinning, but I want you all to hear from the other side that says asinine things. And we'll try to make sense of it together. Again, hit that like and subscribe button. Let's go ahead and roll it.
It was Ben Shapiro on the crisis in Israel. His powerful emotional analysis made headlines around the world. 5 million people have watched that interview so far, a measure of the enormous emotion and division this conflict has awoken. Well, among those viewers was Mohammed Hijab, the controversial pro-Palestine influencer with nearly 1 million YouTube subscribers of his own. Here's what he had to say about it.
Do you think Piers Morgan, on fair grounds, would try and speak to me about an issue like this? Or Ben Shapiro, when they know what I'm going to come with? Absolutely not. Don't pretend you don't know who I am. You've been watching my videos. You know what I'm about. Your silence is deafening. And your cowardice is apparent.
Well, Mohammed Hijab joins me now.
With theatrics. Your silence is apparent. Bring it down a little bit, man, all right? Let's bring it down a little bit.
Mohammed, thank you very much for coming in. I hadn't actually watched your videos. I have now. I've watched a few of them. I'm aware you've got a massive following. You've got nearly 1 million YouTube subscribers. You're an influential person.
Help me get to 1 million subscribers, folks. Hit that like and subscribe button. Like I said, share this link with your friends and family. Leave us a comment down below. It does help support the show. Again, help me get to 1 million because this guy has 1 million. I'm a conservative that loves this country of the United States of America and wants to see it flourish, and I'm not at 1 million. Help me, folks. Help me.
And you have a lot to say about this issue, obviously. So I thank you for coming in, but I'm not too cowardly to talk to you. I don't have a horse in this race. I think I've tried to straddle a divide of being fair-minded with all sides. I've had all voices on the show.
I commend you for that, actually,
Right.
to be honest, for bringing me on. But do realise I did caveat that with on fair ground. So let's hope that this interview is conducted.
I intend to be completely fair.
Yeah, sure.
I promise you, because all I want to get to here is a real sense of what is going to happen. We can all look back at. We can all look back. Let me just. We can all look back.
Before that, Piers,
Yeah.
sorry, if you want to say fair grounds, you introduced me as a Palestinian controversial.
I actually corrected myself.
Right, so
I said pro-Palestinian. I meant to say
so
pro-Palestinian.
why did the word controversial come into play?
I think you're controversial.
So are you.
Yeah, I wouldn't deny
So is the
that.
ambassador. Why didn't you introduce her in that manner?
I'm happy to say that to many people, her views would be controversial.
So why didn't you introduce me as the Oxford graduate?
Do you want to be introduced as that?
Yes,
Okay, or an Oxford graduate.
go ahead.
Okay, no problem. You can be introduced.
You can already get a vibe of the type of person this is that is very egotistic and cares a lot about their image as well. I mean, for somebody to lay out your whole resume and choose certain things, I mean, at the end of the day, we all know what it's about. And I think, you're going to see how this plays in later with the words and being very specific about certain words and all this other stuff. It's a bunch of foozery.
This is anything you like, frankly. It makes no difference to the debate. Let me ask you this. Where were you when you heard about what happened on October the 7th?
I was at home.
What was your reaction when you heard?
I was actually very sickened by it. And this is something I do want to put on the table because I think it's fair for people to know this. In our religion, we do not believe, okay, as a Muslim, I am a Muslim, and I do not believe in the killing of any man, woman, or children, non-combatants. That is not despite the religious teachings. That is because of the religious teachings. So in terms of condemning Hamas and just jumping straight into it, I condemn not only Hamas, but any other entity, okay, wherein it's proven that this has been done, that the killing of combatants has been done. Therein, I condemn any party that does it. Any party that kills people or strikes at people where it's more probable than not that it will hit a civilian target, I condemn them. And that's why I condemn.
Wow. Do you see what he did there? Oh, I condemn Hamas, but blah, 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 blah. That's sketch, man. That whole phraseology was so sketch. Talk about throwing that under the rug right there. Wow.
Them the IDF. Because when they strike, they know that it's more probably than not going to hit civilian targets. They know that the majority of civilians, or the majority of people that are going to be affected are civilians. We know that from the various operations that have been conducted. We know that because now in Gaza you find that there is a blockade, as you know, for 17 years, but also they're stopping them from electricity, water, which is a war crime under Geneva 4 of the Geneva Convention, Protocol 4 of the Geneva Convention. So this is something I'm surprised you didn't actually mention to the ambassador. But
I did mention it.
You didn't say it's a war crime.
Well, I think it's an arguable point whether it's a war crime.
Okay, let me ask you now then.
They are saying Israel, at the moment, Israel is adamant
Sure.
they are not breaching war crimes, right? It will be determined.
But if we could-
well, it will be determined whether that's the case.
No, sorry.
What is it?
That's
Mohammed,
incorrect.
well,
Yes,
Mohammed, let me
incorrect.
just make a point to you back on that. I think surely we can agree that what happened on October the 7th was a war crime.
For those that know more about kind of Palestinian versus Israeli stuff like that, Israelis, whatever. And I don't have the answer, which is why I'm asking. Why is it that if Hamas is like honeycombed in Gaza with the Palestinians, and that everybody's getting on Israel's ass about bombing Hamas, and Hamas again uses women and children as human shields, you know, my question is why don't the Palestinians stick up for themselves and then fight Hamas? I don't have the answer. Like it's a legitimate question. I have no idea. It would be the same thing if there was a uprising of terrorists in here, like the KKK, for example. I don't support the KKK. I don't like them. I want them gone. So I would rise up and fight against them, whether it's using my voice here on YouTube or other ways to get them out of here. My question is, why isn't the Palestinians fighting against Hamas themselves in Gaza? I don't. Let me know in the comments. I really don't have an answer. I don't know.
I mean, when people are taking grandmothers and executing them, kidnapping young children, when they're killing babies in their cribs, we can agree that's war crime, right?
Okay, babies.
Can we?
Surely, of course, 100%.
Right.
But babies in the crib. Sorry, what was the evidence for that?
You don't believe that happened?
Sorry, CNN, the White House, Sky News, which you work for, all say.
I don't work for Sky News.
Well, your thing.
I did work at CNN.
I
saw one reporter who retracted it because she wasn't sure about the source.
It's unconfirmed by the White House.
But then the Daily Telegraph and the Jerusalem Post and other sources then did publish pictures,
CNN,
which indisputably show babies have been killed.
No, it showed one baby who's been charred, and that picture has been put up on Twitter and has been refuted by many people saying that it's actually AI.
Just want to be clear here, guys. It wasn't AI. Like, they did a full-blown investigation. Ben Shapiro's actually talked about this. Ben Shapiro actually posted the image of it on his Twitter. And they actually did a full-blown investigation, boots on the ground, people there, identifying, going through everything, talking to people in the area. Multiple outlets have reported this is legit and has happened. Multiple reporters actually went into houses and saw babies completely killed in their bed, in their crib. So this guy is off his rockers if he don't think this is true. And the fact that he's going to blame it on AI just shows you everything you need to know about this individual, unfortunately.
That's completely untrue.
That is true. What's your source? What's your source?
There's been a thorough investigation into the claim that was put up there by some rogue person on Twitter that it was AI. It has been completely disproven.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
That picture, which was published on the Telegraph, is a genuine, legitimate picture.
What is your source?
Are you seriously arguing that babies weren't killed?
No, I didn't say that.
Well, what are you saying?
I'm saying, give me a source.
Yeah.
You know full well you've been fired from the Daily Mirror for fake images. So you know.
Why does he need a source? I mean, I get like the whole idea of needing a source to approve something. Don't get me wrong. I totally understand that. But my question is that the whole conversation is about killing babies. I mean, whether the baby was in the crib or not, at the end of the day, it all encompasses the idea about killing children is wrong. Innocent children is wrong. And he's questioning, well, what's your source for the baby in the crib? Even though there are multiple sources and freaking photos of it. But okay, whatever. You see where this guy's going in terms of the argument.
You know full well about the
I didn't accept they were faked.
Exactly. The UK government did.
Yeah, they did.
So
Because the UK government, just to be clear, had waged, in my view, an illegal war in Iraq.
So you're allowed to go against the government, and I'm not allowed to go against the Israeli government?
Of course you're allowed to.
So tell me now, what's the source?
You seem to be making a lot of presumptions about me, Mohammed.
Yes, because you had softball questions for your ambassador.
No, they weren't. I put all the questions to the ambassador. I was editor of the Daily Mirror when we opposed the Iraq war on the grounds that I believed it was an illegal war. I still believe that to this day. I think it stained this country.
Fantastic.
I don't think you even knew that.
I did know that.
Right.
But that's not the point I was making. I was making the point that if you're allowed to go against the government in their classification of an image, then if you have pro-Palestinian activists who are saying, actually, we need to see a source, shouldn't they be entitled to that?
The Daily Telegraph published on page 3.
Should they be entitled to that, yes or no?
You're talking about, the Daily Telegraph said they had...
Yeah, they should be entitled to it. I'd say it's a little weird. Just a little bit, not like mega weird, but yeah, of course they're entitled to ask questions. I have no problem with asking questions. I think it's great, but the problem is that when you ask the question and you get an answer, you don't want to accept the answer to your question. That's what it comes down to, and that's what you're seeing happening here.
Independently verified the picture, Mohammed.
No, excuse me.
If you're saying that their verification is wrong...
No, excuse me. Primary source in academia, I know you've done a journalism degree, which is, frankly, it's not relevant to what we're talking about here anyway.
Probably is to journalism, yeah.
No, it's not to this conflict, but we... academics require primary source evidence in order to make it.
The Daily Telegraph said they verified the picture.
That's a secondary source.
You may say
that's a secondary source.
You may say
that's a secondary source.
Well, this guy's an idiot. The primary source can be labeled into the report, you idiot. Like, the primary source would be the person that either took the photo, or the primary source would be the people that actually saw the baby and saw the environment that it was massacred in. So that could be labeled as confirmation, even though it's a secondary source, confirming the primary source and labeling that primary source in the article. But this guy can't see that because this ain't working.
You may say you don't think it's genuine. I don't agree with you. But the wider point...
That was my point. I said I want a source. I just want to see the evidence.
What we're arguing about here. You're not contesting that babies were killed.
No, I'm saying I want to see the evidence.
So why are you picking on the semantics of the veracity of one picture, which has been verified by British journalists? Why are you picking on that?
British journalists are not an
example
authority.
that somehow this wasn't as bad as it seems.
British journalists are not an academic authority. You know that full well. You've been fired from Daily Mirror for that very purpose. What I'm saying to you is this, putting this issue to the side, I think you're trying to use this as a red herring.
And by these people, I mean the people on the left. This guy's, I would imagine, he ain't conservative, that's for damn sure. No way in hell this guy's conservative. So that's why people on the left, this is how they think, you guys. Kind of up, out there. wants a primary source for babies being massacred, which there's video of, photos of, and then he's going to sit there, well, babies were killed, but I need proof to show that babies were killed. There's a lot of proof of babies. There's literally pictures and photos of babies beheaded, man. What are you talking about?
To move away from the
What
bigger
red
issues.
herring?
This is a red herring because already 1,023 children have been killed in Gaza. That's why. And you didn't ask the ambassador that question.
I
did you?
literally asked the ambassador.
No,
I said 3,000 people have already been killed in a week
Sure,
in Gaza.
Well, you didn't ask her whether
did you even listen to my interview with the ambassador?
I did listen, but excuse me.
Well, don't put words in my
hold
mouth
on.
or say I didn't ask a question.
Let me ask you a question. Do you condemn the killing of those children by the IDF?
I'll tell you what I condemn.
Yes or no?
I'm going to answer your question
setup
honestly and
question.
truthfully.
Sure.
And because I've tweeted about this, right?
Oh, okay.
I think that what happened on October the 7th was one of the worst atrocities I have ever had to read about or watch on
It happens every day in Palestine.
No.
So why do you care about that?
It
one so
actually
much?
doesn't. It doesn't.
It does actually,
No.
yes.
No. The Israeli forces.
I've got the stats for that. if you
Israeli forces do not go.
Cast-led,
Wait a minute,
protective
Mohammed.
edge. Go and check it out.
Mohammed. Israeli forces.
Cast-led, protective edge.
Israeli forces don't go into Gaza on one day and grab grandmothers and kill babies in their
excuse
beds.
me. Okay.
And
No, hold on.
rape and abuse women.
So, rape, is there any evidence for that?
It's been multiple reports
No,
in
no,
multiple
what-
mainstream
by whom?
media publications. Well, you're going to sit here and deny everything,
No,
right?
I'm not denying anything.
You are.
No, I accept that some civilians have been killed. I do accept this. And I already said
You don't believe any.
Some civilians have been killed? And he needs to see evidence of rape and babies? Bro, what? What? Wow. You can't speak logic to these people, folks. Again, these people meaning these lefties. You can't. They're insane.
Any of the reports that women were raped?
No, I didn't say that. I said that it's still to
Well,
be
do you
verified.
think they were raped?
No, I don't know. It's like the Russell Brand thing. You said we don't know. We need to see the evidence. So why do you apply two different
not.
standards?
I'm saying it's been
by the way,
reported.
when it's Israel, we know they're raped. When it's Russell Brand, you don't know because you're friend.
No, it's been reported by legitimate news
When
sources.
it's Israel,
which
you
I
know they're
believe-
raped. But when
which
it's
I
Russell
believe
Brand,
have
you don't know.
verified them.
When it's Russell Brand, you don't know
There's
if
no
they're raped.
comparison between Russell Brand and what's happened
It's the
here.
same thing. It's a rape allegation. Why are you stuttering?
I'm not stuttering.
You are stuttering. You don't have any.
You're-
What? Don't worry, Piers. Trust me. You're not stuttering, my dude. You're not. This guy's trying to compare Hamas raping women and children. And he wants primary sources. Like, do you want the women that were raped to come out and be on camera and say, I was raped? I guess they can come out and do that. Sure. Is that what you want for like a primary source? Or you want the guy from Hamas to come out and say, I know I raped that person? Like, what do you want, man? This is insane.
You're contesting every single thing that I'm saying.
Yeah, that's
and I'm
the
saying
point of
to
an
you,
argument.
at the end, 1,300 people were brutally
2,000
murdered,
people have been killed on the other side.
abused.
2,000 people have been killed on the
I
other
said
side.
that to the ambassador.
Okay, but do you condemn that, yes or no?
I don't think
so. You refuse to condemn?
No.
You do.
The reason why this isn't disingenuous is the way that the question was proposed. And again, I'm not saying I know everything about statistics, but this is clearly eliciting what's called a response bias. Usually it comes in the form of an authority figure. I don't look at him as an authority figure, and I don't look at Piers Morgan as an authority figure. But it can come from the aspect or from the viewpoint of an authority figure upon somebody else. For example, if I said, as a teacher, do I go, hey, do you cheat on my exam? Then I'm eliciting a certain type of response. That certain type of response that I'm eliciting, that response bias, is something that that person that's giving me that response wants me to hear. And obviously they're going to say, no, I didn't. But this is eliciting a specific type of response from somebody else because obviously nobody wants to see civilians be killed. But the thing is that that's not what's happening. It's not like there's a kid just standing in the street and the IDF is coming in and mowing that kid down like Hamas did to a bunch of Israelis. That's not what's happening. When these people are usually killed, which is terrible, yes it is, they are being surrounded by Hamas. For example, Hamas will set up an entire base, command center, in the basement of a hospital. And what they're using with that command center is utilizing it to give out orders to everybody else to go and kill Israeli civilians. So to stop that, you bomb the heck out of the building, of which Israel usually tells the civilians of that building with leaflets, with megaphones, all sorts of communication. Hey, get out. We're going to level this building. And so Hamas does that. And they also use people as human shields. So of the number he's giving, say 2,000, some of those people are literally used as human shields from Hamas. Hamas will also put rockets on top of buildings, their weapons on top of buildings, and launch some sort of attack on Israel from the tops of those buildings in residential neighborhoods in Gaza. So it's disingenuous for what he's saying here because he's setting up Piers to give a specific type of response that is biased based on the question within itself. It's wild. Sorry for that long explanation, but it needed to be said.
Do refuse
Why
to
are you
condemn.
putting words in my mouth?
Because you're not condemning it, are you?
What do you want me to condemn?
Condemn?
Israel's
Okay,
right.
excellent. What do I want you to condemn?
Yes.
I want you to condemn the fact that the IDF, knowing that it's more probable than not, pressing buttons from the sky, killing innocent civilians,
Yeah.
1,000 of them children, that is a war crime and that is not acceptable morally. Just like you condemn the other one. Is it condemnable or
I
not?
believe, given the scale of what Hamas did on October the 7th,
Go ahead,
Israel is entitled
To
to
kill
defend-
children.
No, that's not what I said.
Go ahead.
They're entitled to defend themselves with force.
Okay,
Then
excellent.
the question becomes, Mohammed,
Okay.
it's an interesting debate.
Sure.
If, as it seems to me, you believe too,
Go on.
Hamas are not a force for good, do you believe that?
Well, I think that anybody who kills children and those elements of Hamas who are killing children.
Right, so we can
are not-
agree. So we agree. So
go
my
ahead,
point
finish
is,
your point.
if Israel's purpose is to rid the world of Hamas after the atrocity of October the 7th,
Sure.
how do they do that, given that Hamas embeds itself in civilian areas in the way that it does? Everyone knows that in Gaza.
Okay.
How do they do that
Excellent.
in the surgically clean way that you seem to think
Yeah.
they should be doing?
Okay, can I say
How do you not kill civilians?
Beautiful. Can I
don't like any civilian death.
Do you mind if I answer
I
the question?
don't endorse any civilian death.
Well, no,
Do
you
I
don't condemn it, though,
Hang
do you?
on.
Yeah.
No, and here's why. Because I support Israel's right to defend
Okay,
itself.
beautiful.
Now,
Can I say
no,
something?
No, one more point. So then
Go
you
ahead.
can reply.
Sure.
But the question then becomes, what is proportionate?
Okay.
What is a proportionate response?
Okay.
I don't have the answer.
Excellent.
Because I don't know what a proportionate
There is no proportionate response. There's not.
response to 1,300 murders is. When 260 young people at a music festival, most of them peace-loving people enjoying themselves at a festival,
All of them
when they
killed.
get slaughtered by people
Is there any
paragliding
evidence all of them
in
were
with
killed?
machine guns, I don't know what the proportionate response
Piers,
is.
let me respond to
So can you tell me?
You've spoken for about 2 minutes. You didn't do that with the ambassador. By the way, I'm just showing you're saying fair, but you're not being fair.
I've said what I
okay,
wanna say.
so let me paint a picture.
I will be fair.
Sure.
I'm genuinely interested in what
Fine.
you have to say.
All right, excellent. You're from Irish descent. You know that there was an IRA
Yes.
in Belfast and so on. Okay, so let me ask you a question now. If there was IRA in Belfast and they were occupying council properties and so on, and then we have a plane of RAF going to destroy that council property, destroy all of Belfast, flatten it, as one representative said, Gottlieb. The IDF said that. One of the IDF members said that we will flatten it completely. That's what we want to do. We don't care about accuracy, he said. We care about damage. That's what he said. You didn't question her about that. But anyway, if the RAF were to then go into Belfast and flatten, as the IDF and these guys want to do, if they want to flatten Belfast with all the white people, I'm going to use the term white, all the white people, council estates living in there, with the excuse that we're doing it because it's proportionate defense to the terrorists. What would you say about that?
Here's what I would say to you.
Is that acceptable or unacceptable?
Here's what I would say to you.
Yeah.
The IRA committed a series of atrocities over numerous decades. They targeted, in their eyes, military and political targets. They usually gave some form of warning, not always.
Okay.
They
They were terrorists.
No, they were terrorists.
Sure.
They never, ever went out one day and committed the barbaric slaughter of 1,300...
Irrelevant.
No.
If they did.
I'm sorry, it's
if
not
they
irrelevant.
did. If they
It's not
did.
No, Mohammed.
If they did.
Here's why it's not irrelevant.
Okay.
They never did.
But if they did,
They never did.
would you accept
And by
the
way-
RAF to flatten
and by the way,
Belfast?
there were outrages committed by
My question is,
by
if-
the loyalist paramilitaries
Excuse me,
too.
my question is,
Here's my
if
point.
they did,
never
would you think it's acceptable
They
or
never
not?
came close to committing an outrage
If
on that
they-
scale.
If
right?
they did, is it acceptable
They
to
never
flatten
went
Belfast?
in and kidnapped grandmothers or killed babies
If they
in cribs.
did, is it acceptable or not?
They believe they were fighting for better or worse, and I believe for worse,
Sure,
and that's
sure.
why I'm glad peace was found.
But I'm
They
asking
believe
if
they were
you're not
fighting.
answering my question.
Is anybody else getting the vibe that this guy is condemning Hamas, but on the other line, he's kind of walking that fine line of not condemning Hamas? Is anybody else? Let me know in the comments again, because, you know, we all hear and see different things, but that's the vibe I'm getting, because all you need to sit here and do is condemn what Hamas said, but he's going, well, not everybody in the festival died. Well, that's correct. Not everybody in the festival died, but people were slaughtered. Well, babies weren't killed in their cribs. Well, I mean, babies were killed. Well, only a few people died. No, a lot of people died, more than a few. So it's weird, like this wish-washy, like I'm condemning Hamas, but then like, underground, I'm like pro-Hamas almost, right? Is that the vibe you're getting? Because that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. Maybe I'm wrong.
Political and military targets.
I'm trying to bring it closer to home to you.
You're trying to compare apples and oranges.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
It's you that's doing that.
The only comparison that I would say that we saw from October the 7th and what Hamas did is with ISIS.
Excuse me.
That's the only comparison.
Do you mind if I... Let me ask you a
witness.
question. A Palestinian...
And ISIS were taken out, by the way, with planes...
Me.
No, here's my...
You didn't do this with the ambassador.
I'm going to finish.
You did this with Ben Shapiro, which you gave the show to him.
No, hang on. I'm giving you plenty of time.
No, you're not.
I'm giving you plenty. You asked about the analogy of a plane flying over and targeting...
But you didn't answer my question.
But that did happen, Mohammed, with ISIS.
Would you accept Belfast to be flattened
wait a minute.
or not? Yes or no?
Wait a minute. It never happened, so the like for like isn't
relevant.
It's
a hypothesis. It's hypothetical.
It's not. I don't do hypotheticals.
You don't do hypotheticals?
No, let's deal with reality.
Okay, let's deal with reality.
Mohammed, let me finish. Then you can answer.
So you don't answer the question?
No. Here's the reality.
British public can see this.
Here's the reality, right?
British public can see this.
Yeah, they can see it.
Yeah, go on.
They listen to the debate.
Keep going.
Right? For what it's worth, I think it's a good debate to have. Right? These are questions many people on the pro-Palestinian side are having. I get it. Right? But you're trying to compare what happened on October the 7th with the IRA.
No, I'm not. I used a hypothetical
wait a minute, Mohammed.
question.
I'm comparing it to ISIS. And the way that the world in the end dealt with ISIS actually was to use airstrikes. And many civilians were killed.
There's a huge difference
many innocent
between the
people
two,
died.
Which you're not,
They're not.
You don't understand it because you have no idea of the religious...
What's the difference between what happened on October the 7th and ISIS?
The difference between the Palestinian resistance is the following, okay? Any kind of thing which has Palestinian resistance attached to it, and ISIS, which is a brand of tekfirism, okay, is that ISIS is just one of many brands of tekfirism, which you don't know what it is, which is a kind of excommunication type heresiological Islamic sect, okay? So if there's
It's nihilistic mass murder. That's all they care about.
Listen, I know what you're saying, but I'm saying something else.
You agree with me, don't you?
I do, but of course I do, but you're not understanding what I'm saying, so I'm trying to break it down.
I am understanding what you're saying.
What I'm saying is that anything...
And I'm not anti-Palestinian, by the way.
Sure, please, but...
Over the many years, if you bothered to check what I said about it, I have always tried to shine a light on the plight of the Palestinians.
Allow me to speak, please, because you're just talking over me. The difference between the two are the following, right? Even if we assume that the killing of combatants in most definitions of terrorism is something which brings someone to be a terrorist, okay? I would say that if that is the case, then the state of Israel breaks that threshold and meets that condition. Because why is Israel not a state terrorist? If their highest officials are admitting that we want damage and not accuracy. Answer me this question. Why is the state of Israel, who are illegally occupying Gaza and the West Bank according to international law, and even the ICJ said that, okay, which is, as you know, an organ of the UN, all right? So this is...
Did he just say Israel's occupying Gaza? Because Palestinians have had Gaza since 2005. I mean, you're talking almost 20 years that you've had it like all to yourselves, and like, look what it's come to. So, and Israel, by the way, doesn't want Gaza. Believe it or not, that is such a misnomer. Israel does not want Gaza. They've gone so far out of their way to say, you keep it. It's like as if California just went down the drain further than it is. It's come such a dumpster fire and a heap of garbage that the Democrats turned it where it can't be flipped or resurrected ever again. The rest of the United States is going, nope, it's okay. You keep it. That's yours. You have fun with it. That's kind of like what's going on here. Don't tell me Israel has this thing. No.
International law. They're occupying, they're seizing, they're bombarding, they're indiscriminately killing, and they're blocking the supply lines. They're using white phosphorus. They're doing what you call mowing the grass, which is every few years, they're killing the Palestinian people.
Let me
I want to understand what differentiates an Israeli in the sky pressing a button, killing the civilians, from somebody in any terrorist organization shooting the people. What differentiates it?
Again, this is the underskirting. I keep explaining what he's doing here. He's not revealing to the fact that Hamas is using these people and these buildings as like command centers and bases for themselves. It's like you being in an apartment building and Hamas having a section of that building as their command center. And then the Israeli forces dropping leaflets and letting you know, hey, we're about to bomb your apartment building. You should probably get out. And then you go, nope, it's okay. I'm going to stay. You should probably leave. And if you forfeit to leave, well, you know what? You forfeit then. Is that fun? No, that's terrible. But again, my question goes back to what I asked before, and I don't have the answer because I don't have enough knowledge on this, is why aren't the Palestinian people in Gaza taking up arms and fighting against Hamas? I mean, it's easier said from me. I'm not in that situation. But that's my question is why are we constantly going after Israel here and not after the Palestinians for not going after Hamas? And then this guy kind of like, oh, well, I condemn Hamas, but, Israel's killing Palestinians left and right. It's like, well, there's more to that. There's way more to that.
Israel will say it has a right to defend itself.
So will the terrorists?
Right?
That's what Osama bin Laden said.
And they will.
That's exactly Osama bin Laden's argument.
No, it's not though.
Yes,
Hamas,
it is. I read his fatwas.
I read his fatwas. Hamas aren't defending themselves. Bin Laden wasn't defending himself.
Define defense.
Bin Laden was trying to kill
defense?
as many of the enemy as possible.
Let me ask you a question. How could it be that an occupier is defending itself in the first place? The notion that Israel is defending itself is as absurd as the notion that the rapist is defending itself from the victim. Because Israel is the occupier.
You haven't asked
hold
me.
on, hold on.
Yeah,
Excuse me, let me finish. Just let me finish. An occupier by international law definition means that they are already in an offensive posture. If they're in an offensive posture, if someone brings you to Piers Morgan, grabs you by the thing, throws you into your bathroom, yeah? You're in your bathroom, you're screaming and they're eating food, having a good time. One day you come out of your bathroom, you try and fight one of them, who's defending who from who?
Mohammed,
How can you self-defend when you're occupying? Answer me this question.
Let me speak now.
No, but answer the question.
Let me speak.
Answer the question first.
Fine, I'm going to speak.
Yeah.
Let me answer.
Yeah.
Dude, this guy's off his rocker. And if he's acting like this on this big of a TV show, can you imagine having a discussion with this guy behind closed doors? Like he's drinking water. You could tell like he's doing everything in his power to keep his composure. But this guy's like I'm not saying he takes roids, but like those roid rage guys like losing their ish. You can't have a conversation with this guy behind closed doors. This is as good as it gets, man, on television with this guy with the conversation. Because that closed door, I can tell this guy is just an asshole. Based on what I'm seeing here.
I believe that Israel's made a number of bad choices.
That's not answering my question.
Wait, I'm telling you what I think.
You're not answering my question.
Telling you what I think.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay? I don't think Israel's been perfect at all. Right?
You said they had the moral high ground.
I think a lot of the decisions Israel's taken are wrong. I think Benjamin Netanyahu, by the way, his attempts to usurp the power of the Supreme Court this year in Israel has been a complete disaster.
Do you condemn them from killing civilians or not?
I do not. I will defend them this week.
Yes or no?
Wait.
Yes or no?
I will defend them this week in defending themselves against one of the worst terror attacks ever.
So you can kill civilians for that?
You can target Hamas.
Can you target? No, hold on.
And if Hamas, the controlling, governing, ruling body in Gaza, hide amongst the public,
this is a false flag.
Members of the public will die.
You're talking about fallacies. This is called the Moat and Bailey fallacy, which is that you're trying to defend one controversial idea by using another. It's Moat and Bailey fallacy. You can check it up on your own time. The point is this. I'm not asking you whether Israel has a right to defend itself. We've already said of the logical and legal impossibility. The logical and legal impossibility of an occupying power, according to international law, of actually defending itself because it's already. Let me finish. It's already in an offense.
Does this guy literally think that Israel's just going into the streets, just mowing over and dropping bombs on just a residential building? Like, I'm sure it has happened. I wouldn't doubt it with Israel, and I don't agree with that. But that is the cost of going to war. I don't like it, but there's going to be screw-ups in intelligence. Every war that's happened, again, I don't like it, but I think to say that Israel is targeting specifically on purpose Palestinians, I just don't see that happening. It has happened by accident, or so the Israelis say by accident. But, and again, I don't have any stake in this, man. I'm just a third party giving my opinion on this. But he's not being very honest in the way that he's saying this of like, well, Israel's just going after the Palestinian people. Again, my question is, and actually there's no greater time to rise up as a Palestinian and go against Hamas than to join forces with Israel and say, hey, the people are with Israel. We don't want this either. We would love to be in unison. Let's all go after Hamas and fuck them up. Again, why is that not a thing? I don't know. Somebody explain to me why that's not. I'm pleading ignorance here. Okay? I don't know.
Defensive posture. Now, I'm saying this. If it is the case, you're just saying it's defending itself against Hamas. Is the only way to defend itself against Hamas by dropping bombs in the most densely populated area, one of the most densely populated areas in the world? Is that the only way? It's a false dichotomy. You're creating a false dichotomy. They could do surgery. They can do insurrection. They can go in and they can target
We're going to take
Hamas.
a short break. I'm going to keep you here. I want to finish this. I want to give you the time. I think it's an important debate, an important conversation.
Look at that.
But you have to
You're
answer my
himself
questions.
up.
I will. We'll come back. Yeah, but actually, you have to answer mine. It's my show, actually.
I can answer you.
For the record, you can ask me as many questions as you want, but I'll tell you what I think.
I've answered all your
We're going
questions.
to take a short break.
I've answered all
We're
your
going to
questions.
come back and we're going to finish with a few more minutes, okay?
Introducing custom t-shirts.
That dude just needs to like sit there and be quiet. And if Pierce wants to talk the entire time, then let the guy talk. It's his damn show, man.
To Piers Morgan says, well, Mohammed Hijab is still with me. Mohammed, we've had a lively debate. I knew it would be a lively debate. This is a very important issue. It's a passionate issue. People on both sides. If I tweet about anything, doesn't matter what I say. One side, if I'm even remotely sympathetic to them, the other side, poor abuse and vice versa and so on. Let's try and cut through it all and get to what happens here. How do we find peace in the Middle East? I've been covering Israel-Palestine since I've been a journalist, 3 decades. And it seems to me we're as far away now as we've ever been. How do you think we get
You'll
to
be
a place of
surprised.
peace?
Look, even Hamas, some 4 or 5 years ago, they even agreed to the 1967 lines, the borders. And what you have to understand, that this cannot be scapegoated on Hamas, because before Hamas's existence, this was still going on. This was going on before Israel's existence.
But do you believe in a two-state solution?
No, I believe in... Look, even Hamas was proposing a two-state solution.
But do you believe in it?
Look, there's advantages and disadvantages. This is a different... I don't know. I mean, it's a difficult one. I'll be
Could
honest
you
with
imagine 2 states next to each other living in peace? Palestine, Israel.
Look, it's a possibility. I mean, as I say, even Hamas was saying that that's a possibility. I mean, this was 4 years ago. But what I want to bring to your attention is that nothing can happen if the international body or the UN becomes a toothless agency. In 2018 to 19, when actually 221 people were killed on a peaceful protest in Gaza. It was called the Great March of Gaza. 220 people died. Hamas didn't shoot a bullet. No rocket was launched, yeah? So 220 people died, and this is even mentioned by the UN and these kind of agencies. They tried to bring it up, the Palestinian Authority, they tried to bring this up to what we call the ICJ, which is part of the UN, okay? What happened is the Donald Trump administration, they threatened to freeze the assets of the ICJ, which tells you the following. What are the Palestinian people to do? Because the fact of the matter is, if they try and bring it up...
Let me ask you.
Let me finish the point. Let me finish the point. If they try and bring it up...
We're running out of time. That's why I'm jumping in.
But if they try and bring it up to international law, it's thwarted.
I do think
if they're trying to boycott...
international law matters.
Sure.
I just don't believe that any peace can be achieved with Hamas in charge. Do you?
Before Hamas...
Now, after what happened last weekend.
Forget about last weekend. Last weekend is...
Can't forget about last weekend.
No, it's not. Before last weekend, before Hamas in 1987, this was still going on.
But not on this scale. And
worse.
No, it wasn't as bad as this.
What are you talking about?
What happened on October 7th
that shows ignorance
was
of
the
history.
single worst assault on a populace since 9/11. It was.
Yom Kippur War was 2,600 people died, by the way. 1973. That's false.
In one day?
In one day, I don't know, about 600 people died in one day.
Mohammed?
Ariel Sharon said.
Wow. He was kind of on a roll there. You know what I mean? He was actually making at least a little bit of sense of like throwing stuff in there, being calm. And clearly there was some sort of discussion during that break of like, hey, I'm going to give you time, but you know, you can't just be shouting stuff left and right the way you've been doing. I shouldn't even say shouting, but you could tell there's something like pent up in this guy. You know what I mean? I actually liked listening to him at the tail end there, that last few minutes, because I felt like I was actually learning something. Okay, there was stuff going on beforehand, before Hamas was there. Like, what were those things? You know what I mean? And give people that information so that people like myself, a third party, that's kind of sitting back, that's pleading ignorance on a lot of the history of this, can gain more understanding of why can't the Palestinians and Israelis get along? And furthermore, again, if it's about having a two-state system, which clearly he doesn't agree with or disagree with, he said he didn't know, like, why can't that be a thing? I think that's more of a discussion. But starting off there with basically, like, what's your primary resource or source on people being massacred, and that's not the deadliest attack against the Jews, and sometimes it's like, man, dude, you're gonna turn people off from listening to your message. if that's what you're in the same way. And maybe he doesn't care in the same way. Like, I know I turn a lot of Americans off with my messaging because I'm conservative. I'm speaking on behalf of the conservative people and the Republican people of America. And I know I turn off the Democrats and independents because they don't want to hear that. So me going into the show, I already know that, I'm basically discarding a lot of the country. But, maybe he's the same way where he doesn't care. He's speaking on behalf of the Palestinian people, and he really doesn't care if Israelis come to his side or not. I don't know. But I'm also not, I would never accept the death of just Democrats. They're my fellow Americans. So, I mean, it is different. I would protest the right of my Democrats, my fellow Americans, to have the right to free speech and Second Amendments and that stuff. So it's not fully the same, but it's tough to give an analogy on something like this. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. It's kind of long. I hope you had fun with that Piers Morgan. It was fun to watch it with you and get a real take reaction on all of it. I'm curious to see what the hell you guys are saying, because wild stuff. I will keep you updated on everything that's going on. For right now, I'm going to continue, I think, to upload every other day unless there's a White House press briefing or something like that, just to let the algorithm kind of run its course. And it gives me a little bit of free time to, kind of relax, play some video games, read a book. But I always see your guys' comments. Thank you so much for always supporting the show. There is a join tab right here. Would love your support and becoming a patriot yourself. And we have baldbrad.com. We have a book, Trojan Horse: How the Left is Destroying America. As you saw, we got mugs, we got t-shirts, we got hoodies, we got all that fun stuff. Cool logos, man. American Patriot logos. At least go check it out. Please don't feel like we're making a killing off that stuff, folks. It's a third-party vendor that makes all of it for us from scratch, and then we'll ship it out. So they handle everything. I get like a couple bucks for it or whatever. So thank you always for your support, your kindness, and your love you show towards me, the show, as well as just America in general. You guys are true American patriots. You love this country, and we all see that. Again, hit that like and subscribe button. Leave us a short, sweet comment down below. Share this with your friends and family all over social media. Folks, I'll see you tomorrow here on the